yeah, my life was easier before, but I would never want that back. There's such greatness in picking up a bigger load, carrying a bigger cross, taking more responsibility, more responsibility. How much tension can I fit in my life? It's a lot more honorable, a lot more challenging, a lot more satisfying also when you get victory. We're here in Envigado,
Cool.
Medellin, and yeah, part of why we're here, besides I love Colombia, is trying to find or make a home,
Hmm.
maybe for her, maybe for us. I don't know yet. The Yeah, I've come to learn in the past year that I always had the tension between having a home and not having a home. Like
Hmm.
quite literally, not just not having a home, but not wanting to have one, you know?
Hmm.
I had a couple of like I was raised normally and I had a home and all of that, and then I started traveling, and for years and years I was homeless or home free, and then grew always with time also like a desire to have my place at least, you know like I'm welcome in most places, in a lot of places in the world, and people welcome me, and I could even places to stay alone, but it's always pending upon the invitation, of others. And with time grows a kind of like a desire to have my thing, even if
Hmm.
it's just a cabana and a mattress and my clothes there, to have that, you know, and that I wouldn't have to ask anyone or talk to anyone. I could just go. And I've had several permutations of that over the years. I had a home in Romania. I had a home in Malaga, Spain. But then when I had that, after a while, I not only wanted to go, I wanted to not have it. I wanted to burn it to the ground. Like it was, I felt like it was holding me back. And what I'm learning in the last year, and this is just an idea I'm exploring now, is if since I'm a nomad, a traveler, an itinerant, having one home is a downgrade, but having several homes would be an upgrade.
Hmm.
And so the idea I have is not have one home, but have several homes between which I travel.
Hmm.
And I could see places, Belgium, where my family's from, Spain, and Colombia is certainly one of them too. So we're here in Colombia, at least in part, exploring that. And I'm each month we live in a different place of town. We were in Santa Elena in the mountains, which was great. Now we're in Envigado in Medellin. Next month we're going to go to Pereira in a couple of hours from here, and so I'm exploring that, where how I feel. They're scouting missions to see how I feel in a certain place, and then who knows, maybe that
Cool.
becomes a home.
Well, I can relate to that a lot, and I think it ties into the theme. Actually, for a long time, especially before I was in a committed relationship, I kind of felt like cities and relationships, or cities and women, kind of took a similar kind of space in my mind. Like I wanted one serious one, but I also wanted to explore many, and I liked having the freedom to like plug into one and leave and fly to another
Uh-huh.
one. And it also, when I was more single, there's women in different cities, and but in my mind,
Yes.
it's always been kind of the same feeling of like discovering a new town or a new neighborhood or a new house is kind of like getting to know a person intimately, and
Mm.
actually feeling the same kind of dilemmas that I want to speak to you about with both cities, with
Yes.
both homes and women, let's say. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so I want to speak to you about the freedom commitment dilemma. You sent me a talk that you did with Zan's group,
Mm.
but actually, I'm curious because I'm realizing now we haven't spoken. I think for 4 or 5 years. I think was the last time you were, doing the
Wow.
Way of Seducer thing. I'm just curious what you've been up to in that time in between. Probably a lot.
4 5 years. So
Yeah,
that must be 2018. I was doing live
yeah,
events.
yeah. 2019, I think, was our last episode.
Okay. So that's right around the time when I met Michael. He came to an event in Malaga, and I was still going through a lot of grief, after the breakup with Zan, who had kicked me out of the Arzamarata and the Yamarati. And yeah, I met Michael. I these are the things I think are the most important. So those are the ones I tell. And we hit it off well. We start traveling together. I got to know his work, which is work in honor, and it really helped me get past that heartbreak. Because of his work, I could see Zan in a different light, and I could go from judging him and to honoring him. And I had seen very quickly that I wasn't suffering from him, but from my judgments of him. And yeah, I completely, yeah, I saw him in a different light. I saw that he had to kick me out, even if it was hard for him, so I could spread my own wings, so to speak. And like a mother bird kicking out the little bird, and it set in motion a whole set of events, which is quite miraculous. I got Zan on an interview. We didn't talk for 3 years. In 2019, we talked for the first time, and I honored him. And it was, you could see it on YouTube. It's incredible. It was a complete turnaround from not talking to, yeah, we had a new lease on our relationship, and a year and a half later, he asked me back to lead the Amarati. And then a year after, he asked me to lead the whole business of Arzamarata, which is, it's just a miracle, to go from being in pain and not talking to each other to that. And I didn't accept that for several reasons, but mainly because I'm just doing my thing now, which is which turned. I did a couple of things, but what was born from it is a real coaching practice, and I shifted from being a say teacher, well, a womanizer, and then a teacher, to a coach, where I instead of teaching and then people take whatever they want from it, really like looking for men that inspire me, that I can and want to help, and then using everything I've learned to help them get victories. And it's been a real spiritual journey to get out of my own way and be in service. And I love it. And it's been a great business journey too, because I made a decision in my life to meet the challenge of money and learn how to make money with what I love doing. And I really succeeded in that. In 1 year, I 5x'd my income just with a coaching practice. I hired Michael as a coach. I hired Rich Litvin as a coach, and I just applied my focus to becoming a businessman, an entrepreneur, and that has been a big success in the past couple of years. My main thing has been coaching, and I've been coaching great men like Federico, an ex or a former gigolo and sexual healer who's reinventing himself, bringing his gift to the world. And I found that, I've been a real drive in meeting great men who I see have something to give to the world. And for some reason, it's not working. They're not either they're not answering the call, they're not doing their work, or they don't know how to do it. And I help them, find a way to bring their genius and gift to the world that's satisfying, that's lucrative, that's spiritually challenging, and that's been my work, being in service. As I've been in service of Zan and in service of Michael and the clients I'm working with right now.
Cool.
That's on the professional level. That's big. I would say it's number one. I'm also still a fanatic athlete. I train every day. You see the bike there.
Mm-hmm.
And I train well 6 out of 7, and I put goals that are completely different than the work ambitions. Climbing mountains
Hmm.
and winning races and mountain biking. I won some races in Romania this year for my age category. So, and then there's relationship. I met 17th of July 2022. I met Elena, who's turned out the woman of my life, I would say. And it's been a real blessing. She's a young Colombian, tiny woman, and we get along very well. And we started an intentional relationship, and the intimacy is growing, and it's unlike any other thing I've had before. And that's been a real blessing, a real
Hmm.
like gift also, and a beautiful thing. And then I'm still the son of my father and the brother to my sisters, and of my mother I'm the son. And my relationship with family is very important. So I go back a lot now, a lot more than before, and
Cool.
that's about it.
Yeah. Cool. So let's go into the relationship stuff because I think what caught my eye, I think you posted something over the summer. I don't know if it was about your relationship with Elena, something like that. Did you have like a commitment ceremony or get married or something?
Actually, we're doing a unión marital de hecho, which is
Mm.
a co-living contract, something like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Um, but we did start an intentional relationship, quite ceremonial.
Hmm.
And basically, I asked her, "Do you want to start a more intentional relationship?" And she said, "Yes, take my hand." And we've been in this journey for a year and a half almost. So,
Hmm. Yeah, so that's what caught my eye because I'm a family man now. My life has changed a lot, I think, since last time we connected.
uh-huh.
From bachelor life to so I have felt, and I think I messaged this to you. We chatted over the summer about this. I've moved very far away from freedom in my mind. So your post, I forget
Yes.
what you wrote. It was very interesting to me because freedom has always been like a top value. But I do have
Yes.
children. I have a wife. There's people who depend on me. Like I can't, at least in my eyes, can't really do whatever I want whenever I want anymore. But I do miss
Hmm.
parts of that. So the
Yes.
term freedom commitment dilemma really piqued my interest. I would love to hear
Yes.
what you have to say about that.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm laughing but I'll tell you this. I think it's the number one dilemma that men who attract women face in their life. It's a dilemma because it looks like you can't win. It looks like you have to give something up. And so um, we can get very specific. But tell me if you feel that if you are get more committed, it means you give up freedom. And if you choose freedom, you're you're giving up commitment and everything that comes with that. You know, and even the way you said it, I miss some of that. I miss some of that. That's interesting. That's a very good. I just think of this now. I think that's a very good articulation. Whether you're living in the dilemma or not, is do you miss something?
Hmm.
You know, and I'll tell you this: I don't miss. I'm in a very committed relationship. We're even exclusive. I know, and I miss nothing. I miss nothing. Well, maybe there are moments, as an avoidance that you say, "Oh, it would be easier." But
Yeah.
let, let me go into the specifics. Why I think this is the number one dilemma for men who attract women. They attract you saw the presentation.
Hmm.
Okay, so maybe you can link to that. It would be good for people to watch it, because um, I could say the same thing, but that's of no use. It's better that they watch it and then go from there. What were the questions that came up for you when you were watching that?
Well, and actually, to be really specific, because like conceptually, I liked everything you said, like
Hmm.
the going into without compromise, the clarity, even you suggesting the man initiating the scary question that some men consider,
Yes.
like where is this going? Where is the relationship going? The thing that I found challenging was like bringing it back into like the concrete world of like, actually, to be specific, what we were just speaking about earlier about, for me, freedom equates to plurality of women, or when I was
Yes.
younger, plurality of women and
Yes.
plurality of location, right? Just that I
Yes.
can go anywhere. It's like, oh, I don't want to be in Peru anymore. I hop on a plane, I go to Asia.
Yes.
I'm not feeling this connection with this woman. I'm going to go do something else, right? I'm going
Yes.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
enjoy I'm going to go completely self-directed. Whereas with a
Yes.
family, I don't have that. And to your point, you brought up something really great, which is compromise versus sacrifice.
Hmm.
Even though I chose this life, right? It wasn't an accidental. I wasn't really an accidental pregnancy. I chose to be a family
Hmm.
man, but I still miss that. And I don't know if that's maybe
Yes.
some of my boy psychology that I need to complete,
Yes.
or what. But
Yes.
that specifically was the challenge for me. If like, well, I still
Mm.
am going to miss, I think, single life.
Yeah. What do you miss about single life?
Uh, well, it's easier. I don't have to consider others.
Hmm.
The only problems I have are like my own. I mean,
Yes.
your liabilities are smaller when you have one person dependent on you, which is yourself. And I'll actually go
Yes.
a little further because I think something you said, for men who are good with women, but I think for me at least, I had to earn being good with women. I wasn't
Yes.
naturally, it took me a long time. I finally earned this. And then after a couple of years, I like almost feel like I cashed out and had a family. And I don't want to make it seem so negative because I really love
Yes.
having a family. I love my wife. I love my daughter. We have another kid on the way. I love
Yes.
it. And I missed my freedom. I do, if I'm honest.
Yes. Yeah, you got to ask yourself, do you want it easier? That's one, like, do you want that easier? Um, I come at a point where, yeah, my life was easier before, but I would never want that back ever. For me, there's such greatness in picking up a bigger load, carrying a bigger cross, taking more responsibility, more responsibility. How much tension can I fit in my life? Yeah, it's not easy, but can I do it? You know, that's where it's like life is certainly not easier, but it's a lot more honorable, a lot more honorable, a lot more challenging, a lot more satisfying also when you get victory. Yeah, it's not easier, but that's not what I would want, you know?
Hmm.
And when it comes to, I'm just looking at a couple of things that you said. When it comes to like different women, I must tell you, Ruwan, me, I have zero desire to be with other women. Like, it's gone. Like, I have no desire. Like, I've seen now that the intimacy I have with Elena is so precious, and it's not that I don't want to risk that, although that might be part of it, but I cannot imagine like I, like what I'm going to have with someone else. It's never going to be like that. It's never going to be that good. It's just, there's already too much invested and it's already too well, like, oh, like when I look away, if I were to look away from that, that's energy lost elsewhere. It doesn't, I have no desire for it. Like, it's not like, I don't want to risk it. I don't have it, I, I have no desire in that direction. And, and I do think, that I came to this point because of the past. I do think, I do think I lived it out, you know, I
Hmm.
do think I had enough of it, you know, and I think that life, say of a womanizer, I believe that it has been completely instrumental to get to the point of where I'm at. I think it's like I think you have to, I think a man has to get it out of his system. this is what I believe right now. I know also there are men who are, say, monogamous from early on, you know, and they find value in that. It could work too. I think my journey, that like yielding into the temptation and living that out, has been completely instrumental to my ability to be with her in this beautiful relationship right now, like 100%. And I also think I couldn't have done it earlier. You know, I needed to become this man, get at this point to be ready for that. This is all beliefs. And I speak those two things in terms of like, because of what you said. So
what do you think are the
yes.
things like, let's say, I'm happy to even be picked apart as a case study. Like, what do you think brings someone from the state of still being in the dilemma to not?
Yes.
Is it just having enough experiences? Is it some sort of completion? Because just as a counter example,
Yes.
and these are just small. The only guys I know who were able to commit to maybe their first like real love and like have a family in their 20s and be very happy were guys that kind of had things figured out. Like they had at least an abundance of opportunities. So they didn't have that scarcity that I think most men who get into this work have for some period of their life. So they didn't really have that insecurity. They got married at 23, never looked back. And I used to kind of be like, well, don't you want to experience more of life? But they had none of that in their mind.
Yes.
And I think part of that also, I'm thinking of one guy in particular. He was also from a small town. His family is religious. I think there's also a lot of cultural support. But I can't imagine being that person, or I can't imagine going down that path myself.
As we are cultured, you know, we have a culture in which, and our culture is pressing us for diversity and new experiences, and you know, and so we're also cultured in that way. I could say that my experiences are, I could tell a story in hindsight that my experiences have been instrumental, you know, you said originally to escaping the dilemma. When we talk in terms, there are different layers here, but I would say this: to experience, I think that a man has to grow in, if he feels a kind of scarcity, then he has to grow in a certain level of abundance. He has to go through a time where he grows in abundance. I have more abundance, you know, to not feel that anymore, you know, to have his choices not be fear-based or scarcity-based. I believe that. But if your question is, does a man have to have the experiences to escape the dilemma? I would say what has been equally instrumental in my growth is to fully own my role as a creator, which means take 100% responsibility for my life. Like, I thought I was taking 100% responsibility, and I wasn't, you know, and maybe I still am not, you know, but there was still parts of me that were blaming others, that were using my circumstances as an explanation for how I felt, that were entitled, you know, which is the opposite of taking responsibility. Like, as if the world owes me something, as if I deserve something, you know, from the world, and the world has to give it to me. And so what has been instrumental for me in my journey to out of that dilemma has been to take full responsibility for the world that I live in, the people I'm with, the relationship I'm having. I take full responsibility. It doesn't mean I am responsible. Responsibility can only be taken, but I am taking responsibility. I'm gonna take on the heuristic principle of 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 what if everything is my creation? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? You know, instead of that person is not treating me well, or it would be better if they, or even like a deep entitlement, which is hard to discover, and I fully embrace my creator's role. I create. What can I create? Who can I be for her? What relationship can I create? You know, what can I do to what can I do right now to get out of this dilemma? That is, for example, instead of compromising, the same action, I'm sacrificing. I'm intentionally saying I'm going to choose that over that. And that's, I think, the most important personal growth, that has been the most important personal decision, to take more responsibility, to stand for being a creator. That has been the most important man I become to get out of that dilemma. Does that make sense, or is that?
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's kind of like a deep spiritual principle. I haven't really thought about it in this context, but like releasing regrets or woe is me or could have beens.
Mm-hmm.
I've felt maybe recently. I've felt like the solution is recognizing I chose this, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I chose
Yes.
this, and this is what happened. And I do think there's something about moving from boyhood entitlement to manhood. You're saying responsibility. I was before I would think of it as like accepting this is what reality is, as opposed to
Yes.
it shouldn't be this way. Actually, a
Yes.
lot of the guys I coach in relationships, that's kind of what we try to get them out of. It's like any complaint about the woman's behavior
Yes.
or the relationship or blah blah. It kind of comes from this like whiny child of like, oh, things shouldn't be this way. Like mommy should fix
Yes.
it. Whereas
Yes.
a man is like, okay, this is the way it is. I'm going to clean up the mess, or I'm going to do with it, or I'm going to leave if I have to. But yeah, so it definitely resonates.
That's great. We had this whole week, in the past week, I was co-hosting Calling All Men, a summit with Michael, my ally. And we interviewed, well, he did most of the work, but this week alone, more than 20 people, and in total, more than 70 people, men who are doing men's work, And this was a theme that kept coming back, the growing up. What is that? Becoming a man. What is that? Is taking responsibility, they had all different terms, and it was beautiful to see. But there's a shift that happens there. And for me, it's the shift of entitlement to responsibility. That's what's becoming a man,
Mm-hmm.
like, and you can only take it. Nobody could tell you should do it. You have to take it. And you're more of it when you take more. You pick up a bigger cross, pick up a bigger load, take more responsibility. I'm doing it. And there's limits to that. There's only so much you could do at a certain point. But that's a growth for me into masculinity, is take more responsibility and get away from the entitlement that's like, like you said, it shouldn't be this way. Mommy, take care of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and actually, the weightlifting analogy I use a lot with people I talk to. It's like what I have learned about my brief time in family world, brief time as a father, not even 2 years, is that it's almost the same skills as when I was a bachelor, or like you would say a womanizer or seducer. It's like almost the same skills. Like you're still handling the feminine, it's just different. Like you just have children emotionally depending on you, or a hormonal wife depending on you, as opposed to lovers. But it's the same skill set, but it's a heavier load. It's the same exercise, but with more weight on the bar, which isn't so fun when it's hard to lift, to be honest. But it is also, do you want to keep lifting 10 pounds forever? Of course not.
Yeah, it certainly is less fun.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's less fun. It's less easy. But it also comes, I think, with a lot more honor. It comes with a lot more vision. It comes with a lot more power, you know? It comes with like, yeah, to me, this is, I would never want to go back ever to where it was before. This is the best time, by far the best time. And yeah, it's not easy, and I don't want it to be easy, you know. And when I'm in a moment of tension, you know, of course there are a moment that you say, "Fuck," you know, it should be. Well, I want it easier, you know.
Hmm.
But in the grand scheme of things, when you look at it, you know, I would never want that. Never
Hmm.
want to go back and be blissfully ignorant, you know, and entitled, and you know,
Yeah.
not at
Just
all.
curious, are you guys planning on having children?
It's the first time in my life that I'm not against it. We have no concrete plans, but
Hmm.
I could see that happening. Yeah, I could see
Cool.
it happening.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Can you speak a little bit on the? Well, I guess you a bit covered it, but compromise versus sacrifice. And actually, I would be curious though of anyone you've worked with children specifically, because it's like an extra bit of
Hmm.
responsibility, an extra constraint
Yes.
on freedom. Some would frame it as.
Yes. Well, I don't know. Those are two completely different things, but I'll say this.
Hmm.
I won't be able to speak to the situation of children and how that affects, because I don't have children right
Hmm.
now. So I'll say this. I'll just make it. This is a distinction that comes from Michael. The distinction between compromise and sacrifice, which I paraphrase and elaborate and go deeper in. But the way to look at it is the way to look at it is this: if you go to a movie theater, you know, and you want to see movie A, and your woman wants to see movie B, and you end up seeing a third movie C, that neither one of you likes, really, that's a compromise. When you want to see movie A and she wants to see movie B, and you say, you know what, I want her to be happy. I really want her to be happy because that makes me happy. You know? And I will not go to movie A. We'll go to movie B. You know? Because her happiness right now is more important for me. I choose that is more important than me seeing that movie. And so we go to movie B. That's a sacrifice, and it instantly comes with honor and joy for yourself. Uh, so so that it's like a sacrifice. Feel the difference is a feeling of honor. When it's a compromise, you feel and maybe it shouldn't, and regrets, like you say. You know,
Hmm.
man, a sacrifice feels 100% correct. It feels right. There's honor in it. You know you've chosen, and you know yourself as someone who has chosen, and you've considered it, and it gives you such honor to do it, you know, and it just feels right. There's no lingering, maybe, you know,
Hmm.
and so that's a good indication of the difference between the two. And the same action could be a compromise or a sacrifice. And when it's a compromise, it will kill the relationship. It will destroy it. You know? And when it's a sacrifice, it will be enhancing the relationship. You know?
Hmm.
And so it's something to be really vigilant about. Because I'll tell you, most men most of the time are compromising. You
Hmm.
know? And it's hard to come to terms with that. We're still compromising, that we're still tolerating. And when men come to terms with compromising and tolerating, they get angry about the other, you know, and, and we shouldn't, you know, because we're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it, and we could solve it wherever we are. You know, there is nothing you could turn it around. You know, you could stop compromising today. You know, you could stop compromising and find a better way. You know, find a better way. and create a way out. And but yeah, it's not easy. It's constant work, you know. it's
Yeah.
it's choosing it constantly, and it's not easy. It's easier to not do it, you know. It's easier to compromise into a traditional relationship and not make it intentional, you know. It's easier to take on the existing roles and not think about it, you know. It's easier, you know. But uh, um, yeah, it's to be intentional about anything and take full responsibility for the relationship you create and the world around you. That's hard. That's
Yeah.
hard, but it's yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, going back to that thing you said, I actually wrote it down, fully owning your responsibility as a creator. And I think for men especially, like no man is happy or mentally healthy when he's being reactive or passive. It just doesn't work. Women,
No.
I'm not so sure. I think they maybe can be, but like men are never happy when they're on the back foot all the time. And it's something I've been trying to remind myself kind of on a spiritual level is to make sure I'm resentment free because there's always things I can't control. Like you said, the same actions can be done resentfully or with like
Yes.
conscious intentional choice. And that makes all the difference in terms of your inner state, even if the outside world
Yes.
looks exactly the same. Um,
Yes.
yeah. And actually with your movie example, we actually had a more dramatic version where she moved to Thailand for me. She hated Thailand. Okay. All right. I don't want her to be upset. So we chose Mexico because it was like half okay with both of us. Like it was like half
Yes.
okay on our list. And we both were miserable for like a year. Like it was like the
Yes.
ultimate bad compromise, just as like a hard example
Yes.
for everyone. Like it
Yes.
was just nobody was happy because we're trying to like compromise for each other as opposed to finding a place where we actually liked.
Yeah. Like, man, there's so many ways that it turns up, you know. Like, but you, okay, you have to, you have to be leading as the man, and leading is the opposite of being reactive. You know, it's being proactive, and that's really is the, I would say the key of leadership is to not be reactive, to be like even when things are hitting you, you know, you're not reactive, you're not reacting, and you also don't wait to be reactive. You know, you are always creating. It's it's not easy, man. We will have integration after this call because we didn't do it yesterday, but we talk about the relationship, you know, every week,
Yeah, you
and
and
we're
Elena,
constant.
just so everyone
Yeah,
understands. Yeah.
yes. We sit down, we say what was good this week, what was bad, what could be better, how can we make improvements, you know? And you're constantly looking to create something better, to create something better. Like, I'll give you an example. When I met Elena, she was making a lot of money, and and I was making money. So money was never a. I was using my money. She was using her money. She gave up her job, which she didn't like recently, and so now we're in a situation where we are, um, she's depending on me, you know, for money. And I've been looking for a model that would work, you know. And this is completely new for me. Like I don't know this situation. I don't know it, you know. So I talk with friends. I talk with Nico. I talk with Zan, and then I ask them like, how do they do it? Do they have separate accounts? Are they? I talk with Michael too. So I talk with people who I know are in relationships and may have faced this situation. You know, my ally Michael has a child now. He has a family in Africa. Zan has been married for 12 years with Diana. They have no children. Nico, a good friend, is married with his Russian woman, and they have family plans. And so I asked them, how do they do it? You know, what models do they use? And I liked, for example, Nico's model where they have, I can say this, yeah, they have like shared. Everything is shared, and it's their money. It's not his money or her money. You know? And I liked it. And I started applying that with Elena. I said, that's how I want it. I don't want you to need money and it's not there. And then there's a discussion, you know, and and I don't like to like in a way give it, you know, because then it feels not right. And so I want it to be our money. I'm earning it now, but it's our money. And we tried that out, and somehow it didn't feel super well, you know. And then I heard Michael talk about he had done an interview with a guy where he said it's actually great that it's the guy's money, the man's money, and she asks him for money. And it's a beautiful thing because it's a real kind of feminine way, you know, to ask for money and then you give it as the protector to her, you know. And I thought, wow, you know, and now we're exploring this. Meaning I said, I want to take back what we did. I think this is maybe a better model, you know. Mm-hmm. And now we're exploring this. So it's constantly looking for like the upgrade. What can we do better? What can we do better than before? And it's what I had originally, you know, in relationships, because the model in the world was just you're either the boyfriend or the husband committed and sexually exclusive and living together and romantic, or you're the bachelor and you're free and you know, and there were no other models. Maybe there's friends with benefits, but that's about it, you know. Like there is a very limited amount of models. And so to start an intentional relationship, you know, like what is that? You know, we don't learn that in school. Nobody tells you that, you know. Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine a relationship not being intentional now. Like, how can it not be intentional, you know? And so we created a relationship that's similar to traditional relations, but it's also particular, you know, because we said, no, whatever's there is there, you know, and we're going to make it intentional. We're going to create something that works for us, you know. And so that's the work we as men have, because there's nothing really out there. Like, it's very assumed and presupposed and non-intentional, you know. So you have to create it. You have to create it. It's shocking how little models, relationship models there are, you know, because we kind of think, oh, we're going to meet the person of our life and it's going to be happily ever after, you know. And in every other discipline, you know, like sports and business, you have coaches and you have models and you have masterminds like trying to explore the edges of that, you know. In relationships, there's very little, man. There's very little.
Yeah, you know what's interesting though? I've seen this in a lot of men who are exploring, who are like myself, who I respect, who are like really thoughtful about this stuff. So many people, when they decide to commit, they end up choosing something very much resembling a traditional model, which I think is very different than being kind of forced into it or unconsciously just going into it because that's what your family did for many years. Yes. But it is actually something that works. And I don't know if this is because I've become more conservative with age or fatherhood or our culture is just swinging that way. But we use the same model that you described with Nico. It's like, you know, my wife takes care of the household. I earn the money. When she needs money, she asks me for it. It's not really like she has to ask me because, of course, I give it. You know, yes. She's paying for stuff for us, right? But it just works. It just works better than other things, you know.
I mean, yeah, you could for sure. There are some things there that work. Like if I think of a traditional relationship, for me, the three pillars are it's romantic, it's cohabitant or moving towards it, or it's sexually exclusive. You know, now my personal experience, sexually exclusive. I never thought I would say that, but yeah, to me, it's just I cannot see how I could share my intimacy with someone else. I can't see it. So right now, 100%. Cohabitant, for me, no. So for me, we have the idea of like, we keep visiting each other, And sometimes we live together for whatever reasons, you know, because that happens. But the idea for us right now is we visit each other. And that may change, you know, maybe you have family that changes. Romantic, yeah, we're very romantic with each other. So yeah, that's 2 out of 3, I would say. But yeah, yeah, it is for sure more. I have a more traditional relationship than what I thought before, for sure.
I do
Yeah.
think cohabitating is, I mean, because we've experimented with not sleeping in the same room. Not for this reason. My wife has had bouts of insomnia, so sometimes we sleep in different rooms. We would take time apart. It actually, I thought, was really good for our chemistry. Like something about just the two of you being together all the time maybe takes away some of the
Yes.
spark. So I don't know. I don't really have like anything concrete to say about that, but other
Yes.
than I think it's interesting to play with. Also, I think naturally, even like, co-parents or life partners in a tribal setting, they wouldn't spend that much time together. Like the men would off be
Yes.
hunting most of
I'm
the time. So,
I'm a big defender of, like, no, I'll say it this way. In our culture, traditional, we're together until we take breaks. We're together and then we are separate. I think that it's a way better for me energetically. It feels a lot better to realize that we're separate and then we choose to be together. We choose to be together. And every time we are together, it's because we've chosen, because we are by default separate, you know, and it shows in the living apart also. We live apart and then we're together. I mean, I say this, but we've been together, we're in the same place here, but like say, that's a choice. And, yeah, I prefer we've been separate and we choose to be together, then we're together and then we need a break.
yeah. And it's a little different with like a child where we have to be together, but I have
Mm,
wanted to limit non-quality time, like where we're just around each other, because like that doesn't add to the relationship. And I think it adds boredom or it
yes,
adds like too much
yes,
familiarity as opposed to we're together, we're actually spending time with each other, you
yeah.
know?
But you spend most of the time together, no?
Well, we're in the same house, but like, in Mexico, at least I had an office outside of the house. Like
Uh-huh.
usually nighttime was
Uh-huh.
like our family time or
Yes.
our intimate time. I try not to be around. Honestly, I can't even work when I can hear the baby or they're doing
Right.
stuff. So I try to create separation for focus reasons. But yeah,
Yes.
then when we're together, we're really together as opposed to being half
Yeah.
together, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. We have spent in the past year and a half, uh, like a lot of time, not even in the same country also, like, she'd go earlier to Spain or I leave earlier and I think it's great, you know, I think missing each other is a great way to spend the evening together, so I,
Interesting.
I, I constantly choose that too, because yeah, it's easy, it's easier maybe to, yeah, to spend another night together.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like reminding me of like John Gray, Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus, like 90s view on relationship, like men need their cave. I think men need it
Mm.
more. And I do think it's a little healthier when the man is the one who's pulling away at times or more often, as opposed to the reverse
Uh-huh.
dynamic, which seems to be dysfunctional more often.
Yes, I think that 100%. You know, like the woman wants more of it, and the man has to say no. 100%. A man has, I think, something like his cave. And it could be your work, like it is to me. He also needs other men. He needs a space with other men. Where his woman is not present, where no women are present. I'm convinced of that. I did a growth house with two of my allies, Adam and Dennis. Now in Santa Elena, we spent most of the time alone there, and it was just great. It's just great, just to be among men and have that container is so important. Like, it's so important for my relationship with Elena that I have that, that I have these all men spaces, and yeah, and also a cave, where I can be alone. And for me, that's train, that's my work. Yeah,
Cool, man. So, what else do you have going on in the near future? I mean, you were putting out a book on on the topic of freedom commitment, right? Or
I I I haven't done it. and now I see why. I'm happy I didn't. Um, Now it would be more ready, but I am spending most of my time now with a gentleman's club, a
Cool.
brotherhood of men who have international lifestyles and love styles, and they share with each other um, intel, introductions, and invitations. From all over the world. They say, "Hey, it's good here for business," or "the women are like this," or in my case, "Can I cycle there?" And these men are they're successful men who are looking to or have already expanded their lifestyle and lifestyle internationally. And so, yeah, this is for me my main focus, because those are the men I want to hang around with. You know, That's also the what I feel my real genius, or gift. I haven't traveled for 15 years. I know how to make a home in a different place, and I know a lot about the different dating scenes all over the world, and I know what's similar, you know, how women are similar, and I know how to get off the tourist track and have doors open for you that stay closed for tourists or even digital nomads or expats, and and the way forward in that is always relationships, is looking to contribute to their lives, focus on relationships instead of going money first, and yeah, that's my main focus, that club, and because it's fun, and
Cool. Can
and
anyone
they're
apply to
and
that?
no.
Okay.
I don't even know why I said it. I must. Michael is going to be unhappy because I deny the existence of it. No, but at some points we open it up, and I do offer, like, say, international romance consultations to men. Where they wanna expand, or they want to find, say, their queen. And they know it's not in the Western world, or they want to explore a different dating scene, or at least taste, something else in life. And yeah, they they want to know what else is out there, and they want the best of the best. And for a lot of Western men, the best is not a Western woman. The best is a more traditional, feminine beauty. Yeah, and
Can you say a little about that? Because I've seen a lot of clips in the manosphere about, you know, Western men moving away from Western women. Or could you share a little bit
yes.
about that?
Well, to me, like, I'm not bad with women. I was certainly a lot worse before, and yet nothing had more effect on my success with women as um, moving to Romania, or travel to Japan, or be in Africa, or in Colombia. What I learned on all these travels is that a Western man like me is a lot more welcome in most of those places than he is in the West. When I go back to Belgium or the United States, it's eh, it's not a good match. It's not a good match, and I'm not blaming Western women, but the Western dating scene has made it so that Western women are a lot more entitled when it comes to romance than in the rest of the world. They feel, just because they're women, they deserve success in romance, and it's a man's job to give it to them. And so a lot of the dating scene is men applying for the job of boyfriend, which is completely, it's a terrible setup, both for men and women. And then when you go abroad, when I went abroad first, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe, when I first went to Romania, how many gorgeous, beautiful, feminine, gracious, elegant women there were. And then it was a shock to my system to discover that they liked a man like me, you know? I'm like, what? I felt so welcome. And I had the same in Japan. You know, I had the same in Thailand. I had the same in Africa, in Kenya. I had the same in Colombia and Brazil. And yeah, there's great matches out there, I say, and Western man, Western woman is not one of them, you know. And that's generalizing, you know, because you could find the woman of your life there as well. But yeah, I do encourage every man to. It's like it's like you say in the beginning of the call, you know, to get to a certain sense of abundance by getting better with women. Uh, you need and you can get to a certain sense of abundance also by getting out there. You know, it takes 5 minutes into a club in Nairobi for you to become a completely different man. I swear. You're like, what? When you go in a club there and all the women want you, you're like, huh? It will change you forever. It will change you forever. You will you will understand hot women and what they go through. You know, you will understand them for the first time in your life. You will treat the woman back home completely different. You know, because something will set in your body. You will have that sense of abundance because I've experienced that. You know, um, in a club in Nairobi. I've experienced that with a gorgeous woman in Japan who's so generous and taking care of me and beautiful, you know, and wants to be with a man like me, you know, and the same in Colombia or in Brazil, and so it's such an important learning, you know, that if you ever want to choose for a Western woman, you know, you got to know what else, you know, your choice is less deliberate if you haven't experienced that. You know, it's like a wine connoisseur who tells you this American wine is the best wine, and you ask how many wines you've tasted, one or two, and then another wine connoisseur goes, this American wine is the best in the world. How many you've tasted? Wow, 2,000 wines from all over the world, and this one is the best. That choice is not better, but it sure is more deliberate, you know. And who are you gonna, if you want to taste the wine, which one you're gonna trust, you know? So your future woman deserves that too. I would say that your choice comes from a place of abundance and not from scarcity. And one way to feel that abundance is to explore different dating scenes, you know, because a Western man, you know, is very in demand and is very high value in most places of the world.
You think it's the Westernness, or it's just that in these other countries, masculinity is not downplayed or masculinity is still valued?
Exactly, both. It's like, especially like you go to Romania. I remember the first talk we gave there, and we talked about girlfriend problems and how to deal with your girlfriend. And this guy, I'll never forget it. He looks like a douchebag. You're like nothing, you know. And I remember him saying, "What do you mean girlfriend problems? Just take another one," you know. And so it's not just that it's great for us to go there and meet these great women, you know, who are very feminine, but we're great for them, you know, because we have a history of being very kind and caring and attentive, and we wanna please our women, you know, and so it's just a great match. Most places of the world, the local woman with a Western man is just a great match for both of them. Both win, you know. So
Interesting. Cool. Well, if people are interested in that, they could reach out to you on your website, the International Romance.
well, for now, let's do this. They can send me an email or find me on all socials. And if you really want this, you'll find me. But just type in my name.
Cool. Sounds great, Hans. Yeah, thanks for making the time. This was great.
Yes, thank you, one. See you again in a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Maybe totally
sooner,
different life
sooner,
situations.
sooner, sooner.